they teach a more classical style of yoga. So I'll teach you yoga each day, like we do in here, or maybe a more restorative lesson. It's also beautiful hiking. We have bonfires planned. And then some of their teachers will come in and do more of like a talk lesson, like they have a lot of great cushions and things. We're relaxed on the floor as they're sharing with us. And they'll share some more historical things, are what we chose this for this session, things more of like historical yoga in nature, the 8 limbs of classical yoga. So the 8 limbs are, sometimes you might hear us talk about that when you're practicing. This asana, moving on the mat, is just one of the limbs. And then there's an anatomy of the mind piece where they speak about yoga as a spiritual practice, a map for working with every aspect of ourselves, learning how the senses and unconscious mind, the ego and intelligence work together to create freedom and wisdom, or ignorance and suffering. And then there's the overview of the Yoga Sutra. So it's a complete scope of yoga theory and practice laid out in what's like the originating text of yoga. And they'll take a look at what it says and see why it's a timeless text that's still relevant today. And then the last session is I'll just bring that all together and share our style of yoga's methodology and how it emerged from that. So those are about hour-ish long sessions. Last time we did a focus on meditation, this time a focus on the history of yoga. So if you're interested, I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards that you might have. Okay, let's get started today. The 8 limbs of yoga work to help us to be able to train our ability to have attention. Not all of the time, but as a choice when it's something that we know we need or want. So right here with yourself in child's pose, head down on your mat, take a deep breath in, exhale through your mouth, and just let go of anything that's drawing your attention away as best you can. And then just put your attention on something, your breathing. Now, that can be something we have an innate ability to do, is put our attention on something, but keeping it there, that can be pretty tricky. So our practice here allows us to start to become aware of when our attention is pulled away from what we want it to be on. Right now, just put it on your breathing. Slow, steady, deep, rhythmic breath. Now, while you're practicing here, putting your attention on something, you might notice it comes and it goes. It's not that we'll never have things that distract us or that we're in pursuit of suppressing those things. We instead just want to allow those other things that are pulling on our mind, our emotions, our senses, to allow for those things to come and go as they do, but not necessarily to pull all of our attention. Last, we learn to put our attention back. Start again whenever we want to. Next, inhale, lift your body up into downward facing dog. As you get into this downward facing dog, keep your gaze on one spot at the back of your mat that you've chosen, one still point in the room, and keep your breath flowing. So now you have 2 tools at work helping you to choose where your attention is: your breath and your gaze. So your Ujjayi breath is the style of breath we're using, and your gaze is also called your drishti. Bring on board a 3rd tool, your foundation, by setting up that your hands and feet maybe are long on your mat. There's a chosen foundation. Your hands and feet may be set wide on your mat. Wiggle your toes, press your fingertips into the mat, and wake up the surface of your palms and the soles of your feet. Then look forward, choose a new drishti, and step forward to the front of your mat. When you get there, lift up halfway and stretch the side of your body long. And then on your exhale, hang down to ragdoll. Keep your breath flowing. You can sway from side to side and just start to feel what you feel in your body. One of the things our yoga practice does to give us greater access to having say in our attention is it just starts to show you where your body is unnecessarily drawing extra attention because it's sore or it's tight or feels weak. As you're swaying here, just open up your listening to your body and all the things that it's telling you about how it is, how it seems right now for you. Then hang in the center, organize your feet shoulder width distance and really pressing into the ground. Let them press down and come rolling up to standing one bone at a time until you can unwind, lift your arms overhead, look up and reach up, and then bring your hands into prayer position and pause. Set your gaze on just one point and let an intention, something that will start to direct all the actions we take, let an intention set itself. I am, and then something that's got kindness and a loving quality to it. 3 times we'll chant Om together to create a clearing in the space. Take a deep breath in. Inhale, reach up, fold to the floor as you exhale. Lift up halfway, high plank to low plank as you exhale. Then upward facing dog, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Take a deep breath in and a long breath out. Create a smooth and steady quality. Inhale and exhale. One more time, breathe in. On the exhale, bend your knees, look forward, squeeze the mat, jump to your hands. Halfway lift, forward fold. Press your feet down, stand up, stretch for the ceiling, and then stretch back. Fold to the floor as you exhale. Lift halfway, move to the low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. We've got 3 breaths here. Now, the breath pace that we're starting to create together, it might challenge what you feel like doing. That's okay. Allow yourself to come into what together as a group we're creating. One more time, breathe in. On the exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, long flat back, fold. Feet down, stand up, extend a mountain pose, reach. Fold for the floor as you exhale. Half lift, low plank, step or drop into it. Upward facing dog, shoulders go back, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Now maybe set a little more length between your hands and feet so that you have this feeling in the pose of stretching into it. Here's the last one. Inhale. On exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, forward fold. Feet down, stand up, reach up, look up, fold to the floor. Halfway lift, low plank, shoulders on your back the whole way. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. You got 3 here. Breathe in. It's going to start getting a little faster. Breathe out. 2 more. Breathe in. Steady, breathe out. Here's the last one. Inhale. Bend your knees. Exhale. Jump. Half lift. Fold. Let's go to chair pose. Sit into your heels. Inhale and reach up. Fold to the floor. Half lift. Move to the low plank. Press your heels back. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward and lunge. Anchor your feet. Bend your knee and reach. Hands down, chaturanga. Stretch back. Up dog. Downward facing dog. Left side, step, lunge, look up, reach up. Hands down, chaturanga and empty. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Anytime you want to, take a sigh. It'll help you let go of how it has been for you and come into how it is in the space. One more time, breathe in. Exhale, bend your knees, jump. Halfway lift, forward fold. Chair pose, sit back and reach up. Fold to the floor and empty. Halfway lift, low plank. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog, right foot, step forward, bend your knee a lot, lift your belly and stretch. Hands down for chaturanga. Dog, down dog, left side, Bend your knee a lot so your whole right front stretches. Hands down, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Breathe here. Inhale, long, steady exhale. 2 more. Inhale, long, steady exhale. Here's the last one. Breathe in. Exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, forward fold. Chair pose, smooth and steady. Fold to the floor. Half lift, low plank. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Right foot forward, lunge, lift up. Hands down, chaturanga, empty. Up dog, down dog. Left side, step and lunge. Lift up, look up. Hands down, chaturanga, empty. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog, and breathe. Now spread your fingers out. Each one can grip the floor as you lift your hips up and back. Whole back body long. One more time, breathe in. Exhale, bend your knees and jump. Halfway lift, forward fold. One more round. Chair pose, sit back and reach. Fold to the floor. Half lift, low plank. Shoulders on your back now. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Right foot forward, lunge, deep lunge. Lift up, look up. Hands down, chaturanga, empty. Upward dog, downward dog, left side step. Lift up, look up, stretch. Hands down, empty. Let yourself be transformed. Up dog, downward facing dog, and breathe. Raise your right leg into the air. Bend your knee, bring your heel to your hip. Now wake your foot up, the foot that's in the air. Roll your ankle around, wiggle your toes, lift it up and back, and keep breathing. From your right hand pressing into the ground to your right knee, lifting up and back. Let your whole side body stretch. Then flip the pose over, 2 feet to the floor. Keep your breath flowing. Once you get yourself flipped over, press your feet into the ground, your left hand into the ground, and lift up and out of your left shoulder. If you squeeze your fingertips on the ground, you'll feel your palm hollow out and your armpit on the left side hollow out, and the pose get a little lighter. Side plank, right hand on the mat. Face the long left side of your mat. Stack your body up and breathe. Now you can peel the baby toe edges of your feet back toward your face. So you really have this sense of your feet as though they're standing on maybe like a board below the soles. And when your feet get so awake, alive, and active like that, something about the pose gets a little easier. Look up and reach up. Move smoothly, high plank to low. You got it, Elle. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left leg into the air. Lift it high up in the air. Bend your knee, heel to your hip, and turn your hips open. Now keep on breathing as you lift up and out of your left hand. Let your left hand sink into the ground. Strong pit of your belly. And flip the pose over, 2 feet to the floor. Reach up and overhead. Up out of your bottom shoulder. There you go. Breathe into your back body, your rib cage across your chest. Side plank, left hand on the mat. Face the long right side of your mat. Stack your body up. Even here, you can be drawing the pit of your belly, into your body and up to your chin. So the pit of your belly is the part in the front of your pelvis, lowest front of your abdomen. Keep drawing it in, nice and strong in that part of your body. Then high plank to low, like you're floating. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in, open up your mouth and sigh. Step your right foot forward to crescent lunge. Arms overhead, set your gaze and keep your breath flowing. You can lunge down, deep down into your front knee, but keep your right hip pulling into your body and up to your chin. There you go. Now from the pit of your belly up to your fingertips, lift and stretch. You got it. Keep lifting the pit of your belly up through your chest into the ceiling. You can stretch up and reach back leg so strong. One more breath. Hands to prayer at the center of your chest. Good work, Paige. Left elbow to your right knee. Anchor it there. Steady, steady breathing. Really lunge down into your front bent knee, but pull your right hip back. Now stretch your chest forward away from your hips to the front of your mat area. You're going toward Greg, Megan, more toward Delilah in front of you. You got it. Chest toward her, not eyes. So your whole right side body stretches long. There you go. One more breath in. One more breath out. Reach up to the crescent lunge. Open to warrior two. Settle your gaze. It helps to settle your whole chemistry. Let your breath flow easy and steady, and bend your front knee a lot. Once you bend your front knee a lot, move it toward the baby toe side of your foot. You'll have to really anchor your back foot back edge now. And pull the pit of your belly into your body as much as you can and up to your chin. Now both legs probably feel some heat. Tilt for extended side angle and just keep your right side torso long. You're welcome to reach over your ear or around behind your back, wrapping and binding the pose. Keep on breathing as you lengthen the lower right side of your torso. That's it, Roy. As this pulls back, you can tilt more. 2 more breaths. Press the back edge of your back foot. 1 more breath. Fire in the pose with your breathing. High plank to low. Good work. Upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Left leg forward, crescent lunge. Get your foot forward, set your gaze. Steady breathing. If you could, imagine that there's a center line to the pose that just slices right down through the middle of it. And you can pull your left hip back into your pelvis, but hug the inside of your right knee as though it's pushing against the center line that you're imagining. And keep that pressure. That's it, Tamara. But also in the back leg, imagine that the inside of your foot and back inner thigh can feel the center line too and hug into it. Once you feel like your 2 inner thighs are hugging to that imaginary center line, reach up for the ceiling. Keep on breathing. Keep hugging the imaginary center line. Reach up and reach back. That's it. Another breath. Reach up and back. Then hands to prayer position. Keep hugging the center line and twist. Right elbow, left knee. Keep breathing. Yep, especially in the back leg, if you can sense that you're hugging onto that center line, you'll have really nice stability. Of course, then with your arms, you can open them, half bind them, full bind them. When you really have that center line, you can tilt forward to reverse half moon. Wherever you are, stretch. Stretch your back heel to the back of your mat, your chest to the front of the mat. Take 1 more inhale and exhale. Crescent lunge. Set your gaze. Keep pressing your imaginary line. You got it, Tamara. Warrior two. Set your foot down. Breathe. Keep your breath flowing. Come down into your legs till you feel the front leg, and then you feel the back leg. Feel your feet. Hug in the pit of your belly. That's it, Jesse. Now tilt, extended side angle. Deep, deep lunge here. So bend your knees a little more than you think and reach for the floor with your bottom arm if you can. That's it, Charlie. Just bend your knee a little more if you can. You got it. Stretch your arms. Maybe both arms. Maybe you're binding the pose. Deep, deep lunge. Stretch your left side body. This side will settle a little more and you'll get strength over here. Tilt in the hips. In the hips is the tilt rather than the waist. 1 more breath in. Breath out. Hands to the floor for chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in. Have a sigh. Now wake up your fingertips, squeeze them to the mat in front of you. Your fingers are strong. You've got handstand hands. Then just take a breath in. On the exhales, bend your knees and jump up to your hands. Half lift, forward fold. We'll take the chair twist, feet hip width distance, sit into your heels. Double check that they're parallel to each other and you're sitting back into your heels rather than under you. Yeah, so you feel like your sitting bones, your butt reaches back. Reach back a little further. Yes, Delia. Twist. So you'll twist left elbow to your right knee. Keep reaching both sitting bones back to the back of your mat, like they're going to sit on the wall behind you. And your chest opposite forward to the room across from you, the front of the mat area. So the two sides of your waist are just stretching long. You got it, Roy. Keep stretching. You can wrap your arm behind your back. You can take a half bind, a full bind, move on to other poses. Bird of paradise, side crow, or stay right where you are. We'll do 3 more breaths. For every single variation, as you breathe, just expand your chest and upper back. You have 1 more breath. Then chair pose from wherever you are and forward fold. Hook your big toe with your middle and index fingers. Lift up, stretch your chest, stretch your arms and shoulders and elbows, and fold. Think wide, wide lower back as you fold here. As much length and space, well, I guess it'd be width, across your lower back, and then length down your spine. Maybe a sigh to just let go. Release your toes, handstand, hands on the ground, crow pose. If you prefer to try working on your handstand, take that as well. But all these poses require wide set fingers, middle or pointer finger pointing forward, and each fingertip active, like you're clawing the floor. Just practice your clawing the floor. Squeeze your fingertips. Your knuckles might even rise up off the mat. That's it, Suzette. Now 3 breaths. Squeeze your fingertips on every exhale. You have 2 more. Broad shoulders. Here's the last one. Move to your chaturanga from wherever you are. Upward facing dog comes next. Downward facing dog. Squeeze the mat, deep breath in. Exhale, bend your knees and jump up to the front. Half lift, forward fold. Chair twist the other way now. So sit back into your chair, get your body stretched long and set up. Hands to prayer, right elbow, left knee. All through your steady breathing. Now, where would you set your drishti when you're twisting? It feels like it should be somewhere around behind you, but you can see if I exaggerate that, it has me curling up. Instead, look forward. So if you're facing the left, to the front left corner of the space you're facing. Breathe and let the 2 sides of your torso be pulled and stretched long, hips back, shoulders forward. Take the variations. Bind your arms. Take the bird of paradise, side crow. You have a lot of options here. 2 more breaths. Keep it flowing and steady. Broad chest, fill up and exhale. Then chair pose from wherever you are as gracefully as you can. Forward fold. Palms under your feet now. Gorilla pose. So slide your palms under your feet from the front. Maybe shake your head out, your shoulders. Just let your body hang. It's just as powerful to let go as it is to add effort. You know, like instead of like strong, to let go. I find it easier for me to learn to be stronger, to add doing. And then all of a sudden the excess doing kind of disappears when I put my attention somewhere else. But it's very powerful to be able to choose letting go. A sigh really can help. Crow pose once again. So your handstand, hands on the ground. A handstand if that's what you prefer to work with. From your crow pose, you have so many choices for variation. Keep your hands set pretty wide. You could create it this time as a crane pose. Your knees will have to be really tucked into your armpits, breathing, and your arms would be straight for the crane pose. It's definitely a different challenge. Whatever you're working with, a goddess squat, a headstand, all the variations, 2 more breaths. Last one, squeeze the mat, chest forward, feet back, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Now have a sigh here. Let go of the practice as it's been so far. Let go of how you wanted it to be. Have a breath or two and feel what you're feeling in your own body, how the experience seems to you so far. And then just stretch out. Squeeze the mat with your hands. Take another breath in. As you exhale, bend your knees and jump up to your hands. Half lift, forward fold. Take your time. Come rolling up to standing, arms overhead, set your gaze. Right side eagle pose, right arm under, squat down, right leg over. Keep your breath flowing. As you sit, just imagine you're pulling your hips down while your elbows and your shoulders pull you up so that your body, your spine, like a slinky, is being pulled long. Sit deep. Keep your breath flowing. Step out, sweep your arms overhead, left side, left arm under, left leg over. Wrap your legs and tuck your toes and sit deep. Let your upper body lift up and stretch up tall. You got it. Yeah, even I see some of you taking the nice addition of just pulling your chin in like you're making a double chin, or like the tips of your ears have been pulled up and back. Your jawbone drawing in. Step out, arms overhead. We'll do a second set. Right arm under, right leg over. Steady breath and steady gaze as you move through the transition. Keep your breath flowing. Listen to the space, the room. Use your imagination if that's what it takes to listen to yourself. If you would be practicing at home or alone right now, or here in this room practicing together. Step out, sweep your arms overhead, left side, second set, left arm under, left leg over. Steady breathing. I always love the stretch across the upper back that's available in this pose. Sometimes I have to press my elbows down, sometimes lift them a little higher to locate where the stretch is for me today. And when I can do that, I get the stretch across my upper back. I later, when we get to the wheel poses, have a little more malleability in my shoulders. Step out, sweep your arms overhead and keep your gaze. Hug your right knee into your chest. If you would like a strap or a towel for the leg raises, grab it. Otherwise, hug your right knee into your chest. Hold your foot, extend your leg forward, and stand tall. Work with whatever is showing up. This can really reveal a lot of tight spots in our back, around the right shoulder blade, of course, in the hamstrings, but just work with it. The kicking leg doesn't have to fully straighten. When you do hold on to the foot, whether it's by strap or by your hand, you get the opportunity to start opening it up. Stand tall. Stand tall with the foot that's in the ground all the way up to the crown of your head. Keep on breathing. Let your right hip settle down toward the ground a little more and bring your toes a little higher. Now open your leg to the right. Look and reach to the left. Stay with it. Steady breath. Come forward. Switch hands on your foot. So now the left hand on your right foot. This right knee can be as bent as it needs to be. Turn, look, and reach to the back of the space. Let your body adapt. Let it mold itself in this shape. Your standing foot, it can press into the mat while you stand tall. Look for and create that there's a quality of freedom in the standing tall. Cross your shoulders and through your spine. Come forward, hug your knee into your chest. Airplane pose. Open up, stretch open, and from here, tilt. Breathe. A lift of your chest like an upward facing dog. Create that. Lift your chest. Hands then to prayer position. Press them together. Half moon. So your left fingertips can go to the block or floor under your shoulder. Right arm in the air. Wake up your lifting leg. Now fill the pose with breath. Notice as you bring breath in, your body brightens up. As you send breath out, everything can soften and have some ease to it. What are you experiencing here? One more breath. Forward fold and hang. If you want the strap for the second side, grab it. Come up to standing. Hug your left knee into your chest. Steady breathing. If you feel like you've fallen out of it, your mind is busy again, let that happen, but bring yourself into the practice. Let yourself stand up nice and tall. When you're ready, extend your leg. You can hold onto your foot and extend your knee. Steady breath. Sometimes I get into this from one side to the other and discover a lot of surprises about what's tight and what's not tight today. Let your left hip sink on down and stand tall. Find just one spot in your own body that feels crowded. Breathe and concentrate on that spot and see if you can get it to soften. Open your leg to the left, look and reach to the right. Steady breath. Can you lift your shoulders up to your ears and move them to the back of your body so that your chest expands a little more? Bring your leg forward, switch hands on it, look and reach to the back of the space. Right hand to your left foot for a pose called Dancing Shiva. Once you get that connection and the turning, your outside ankle, just let it soften. That's it, Roy. And stand up tall. One more breath. Come forward, hug your knee into your chest, then airplane pose, left leg in the air. Open your body up. This is one of those interesting spots to tap into the imaginary center line of the pose. This is a pose that I think people struggle with almost the most to discover that. Standing leg, your arch, your inner knee, your inner thigh, imagine it's hugging against a center line. But then the top leg, that's the trickier one. For most of us, our hip is rolling open. So roll your left hip down and hug in the arch and the inner thigh against the center line. You'll discover a new stability, and it'll be pretty tricky because you'll fire up. Yes, you feel your inner thighs, don't you, Nicole? Hug your hands into prayer position. Half moon, right hand down, left arm up. The inseam of your standing leg gets such an opportunity to stretch here. You may discover that your standing foot on the clock dial turns more into like, say, an 11 o'clock, and that's okay as you learn to open and stretch your standing inner thigh. Candy, a little softness to your knee, though. Yeah, just a little. Breathe, get steady. One more breath, forward fold and hang. Sway from side to side. Come on up to standing bow pose. We have 2 sets, so maybe we'll do dancer in the second set. Right arm bone back, roll open your forearm, palm faces out. Bend your knee, hold your ankle from the inside. Try to hold down on your shin. If you always hold your ankle, hold a little lower. Set your gaze, and then stretch into the pose. Kick back and reach forward. Now, if you imagine the imaginary center line, so it's at your inner knees, both inner knees, inner arches, inner thighs, press into it. Give a little bit more hug just there. Yep. Work with the center line. Balance from the center line of the pose. Press down with your standing foot, kick up with your kicking foot, keep hugging your center line. Step out. Isn't that weird? Switch sides. Left arm back, hold your left inside ankle. Steady breathing. Active feet and kick. Active feet and kick so that your 2 inner knees are hugging a center line. Just gentle hugging in. Hug in. You got it. It's okay to lose your balance as you're crafting and discovering a pose, looking for new understanding of it. But fight for it. Fight to discover the possibility that's available. Drive your standing foot down and your kicking foot up as much as they move apart. Squeeze, 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 squeeze the center line. There you go. Good try. Step out. There's a lot to discover like that. Stand on your 2 feet, get settled. If you have a strap to use for the standing or dancer's pose, grab the strap. You'll get some shoulder opening in addition. This is like the difference between practicing warrior 1 and crescent lunge. So consider you've just done warrior one. So hold the strap behind you and flex your ankle. And you don't want to start with the strap super long where it's like very easy to get your hands overhead. You want a little shorter. Flex, kick back a little bit. Elbows into your waist so your arms look like a W. Let your shoulders relax behind you. Keep your gaze on a spot. And then elbows out to the corners, hands together. Kick back, so you pull back, tension on the strap, and then drive up. Whole different world in your shoulders. So you start back here. Elbows into your waist. That's the weird part, to get that W shape. And then the W shape's the most awkward point. Bring your elbows in front of you. From the W, gaze across your waist, graze across, and elbows come forward and out to the corners of the room. Step out, switch sides. Left side. Anybody want a strap that doesn't have one? That's it, elbows touch the waist. Once you get steady there, they come forward into your sight line and then out of your sight line to the corners. Hands go together. Keep breathing. Elbows upper front corners of the room and then together. Then drive your standing foot up to the ceiling. Keep breathing. 3 more breaths. Hug right here. Corresponding hug with your bottom leg. Hug page, knee into. Hug with your knee. Hug with your knee. You have it. You have it. 1 more breath. Step out. Drop your strap, front of your mat, tree pose, left foot down, right foot up. Palms together, interlace your hands and press your palms forward and take your arms overhead. Steady breathing. You get out of the practice what you put into the practice. It can be pretty performative for years, just looking at perfecting shapes. And then someday maybe something just switches and all of a sudden you discover the infinite interesting quality of what's happening moment by moment. 1 more breath here. Switch sides. Right foot down, left foot up. Eyes on one spot. If you can keep them on one spot as you transition from side to side, there's something available to you even there. Breathe. One more breath. Step out of the pose into the front of your mat. Once you're at the front, inhale and sweep your arms overhead. Fold to the floor as you exhale. Halfway lift. Chaturanga on the exhale. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Right foot forward for triangle pose. Get your feet set up wide. Front foot, all 4 corners on the ground facing forward. A deep creasing in this hip. Not a bowing over in your waist. So we're not looking for a rainbow shape in your waist. We're looking for the 2 sides of your waist to stay as long as they can. Reach for the floor. Reach for the ceiling. And just adapt to that. So you want to keep letting this crease deepen. Let it drive back. Keep driving it back. Driving it back. Yep, and stretching over your leg. Are you feeling that a lot in your hamstrings? Let me get you a block. There you go. Take your top arm around behind your back. When you get your hand around behind your back, if you can reach for your inner thigh or rest your hand on the back of the right side of your pelvis. And as you rest it heavy there, let your hand just drag your pelvis away from you and you pull your belly in. You'll get this melting open of your lower back. Let your chest open. Last breath. Come on up to standing. Face the long left side of your mat. Side facing wide leg forward fold. Fold down. Once you get into the fold, walk your hands through your feet as far back as they'll go, and maybe your head will come to the ground. This is the setup position for a certain kind of headstand one day that has very little support from the arms. Keep on breathing as your head reaches down. Maybe if your head is on the ground, you play with what it feels like to just let there be a little bit more pressure on the surface of your head against the floor. What does it feel like to just let some of your weight shift onto your head? In time, the arms stay the same like this, and the legs move into a headstand. But it takes a lot of core strength first being built from other poses and some flexibility. Walk your hands back in, come on up to standing, turn to face the front of your mat for the standing single leg forward fold. Right foot forward, back foot at any angle up to parallel to the back of the mat. Feet like you're in skis, set wide. Take your arms behind you and interlace your fingers together or hold on to a strap. Then lift your chest up high and fold. You'll need length between your feet. Otherwise, you'll end up just bowing at the waist. So a really close pose, all there is to do is bow at the waist. We want length, so we're working from the surface of the front foot through the whole of the muscles in the hamstrings, the calf. So the front foot's big toe and heel, they press into the mat while the sitting bone reaches away. When you get that, you get a lot of waist lengthening. Check out how the weight is in your body. Bring some weight into your front leg, Tamara. More weight forward. Keep going forward. There's the middle. We're looking to be in the middle of the pose in our pelvis so that the bird's eye view has the two sides of the pelvis level. Twisting triangle, left arm down to the block or floor. Keep your hips as you've set them up, so left arm down. The tendency now is going to want to be to shift weight into your front foot and swing your hip to the side. You're going to have to work to keep some weight into your back leg. And then the whole belly side of your spine, from the back right hip crease to the notch of your neck. Stretch those 2 points apart. Right hip crease to the notch of your neck. Big toe down. Yep, keep stretching. Keep stretching as you breathe. One more inhale. One more exhale. Hands to the floor for downward facing dog. Stretch out. Stretch the whole two sides of your torso long. You may need to really bend your knees to reach your hips up and back. Left side triangle. Step your left foot forward. A long stride and keep your breath flowing. I like setting the pose up from the floor so that we keep the deep hip crease and the length of the bottom side body. Want that more than we want to be locked, pelvis locked, and folding at the waist. Keep letting your front hip crease, the left hip crease, drive deep into your body. You'll need to anchor your front foot's big toe down and be committed to that. Keep a micro bend into your front knee, just a micro bend. I see you've got your knees all wrapped. And then just keep letting the hip crease drive. That's the direction. Yep. You feel that more in your front inner thigh? Good. Front foot's big toe down. That's it, Suzanne. Really get to feeling the possible opening that's available in your body here. Come on up to standing. Face the long right side of your mat and take your arms around behind you. Lift your chest up high. Forward fold. Feet just parallel to the short sides of your mat. This too is a pose that maybe it just seems simple, but it could go millions of different places in time. Let your head reach down toward the ground. Someday, some of you might find your head is resting on the ground. You may even find that your bound hands rest on the ground behind you someday. Keep on breathing. If you can reach down a little further, your block's just down there. You get a sense of being toward the ground. Maybe take a sigh. Let your body be easy here. Rest on your block. It's right here. It's just a little too low. Bring yourself up to standing. Turn to face the front of your mat. Standing single leg forward fold. So like they're on skis and there's length between them. I'd say it's like 2 feet between your heels. And then work from your big toe to get your heels square. Your back heel might lift off the ground and fold. Purposefully drive your chest forward to your front foot's big toe. And then your front foot heel and big toe, they move separate, opposite direction of your sitting bone. Your sitting bone is that bottom support surface of your pelvis. Once you get your feet set up, then you have this chance to really stretch your torso long away from your hips. You're getting that, Sue. I see that. A little more weight in your front leg. Yes. And then your hamstring, I see it kicking in because it starts to shorten here. Keep stretching. Big toe down. Over there, down. You got your legs, twisting triangle, right hand down to the block or floor under your right shoulder. Keep your hips pulling back. If you could imagine someone's hugging the sides of your hips and pulling back, but you resist, chest forward. So it's like a tug of war of your body. You got it. Your hips, let them go back while your chest drives forward. You have it. Keep breathing. Feel whatever there is to feel in your own body here. One more inhale. Twist on the exhale. Nice. Hands to the floor. Downward facing dog. Come to a high plank. Lower all the way down to your belly on the mat. Arms wide, like airplane wings, toes turn under. Lift up for your first locust pose. Right into it. If you're toward the back wall of the room, you could even scoop back so your feet are on the wall and you really have something to anchor into. Nice setup, Charlie. Your feet looked awesome there. Feet back like they're standing or actually stand them. Yes. Heels back, tailbone back, chest forward. Works. Keep breathing. Just going to give you a tiny adjustment. Press your baby toe knuckle down and come on down. Shake your hips from side to side. We'll do a second set. This time, let's reach forward. Palms can face one another. And if you want, you can hug your block between your palms. Now, when we're hugging the blocks, we're looking for the fingers to bend out and open so the surface of the palm is what's gently hugging the block. You could even put it between your forearms, though that might be kind of close. Press your heels back, fingers forward, and just lift. Now, when you get up there, if you're like me, you're going to find right away tension in your shoulders. What can you soften as you breathe? Nice, Greg. See if you can just let your shoulders, the tops of them, the tops of your traps relax, and that might happen by dropping your chin. That was good. Maybe it's by bending your elbows a little wider. Keep breathing. Strong belly. And come on down. Wiggle your hips from side to side. Then bend your knees. We'll take 2 sets of the floor bow, so you can take it one side at a time if you'd like. Bend your knees, reach back, and hold your ankles. Flex your feet. Steady breathing. You might even just hug your block right between your knees. Kick back and kick up. Some of the typical spots that we don't really become aware of is this outside ankle can get really tight here. Peel your feet open. Get to imagining the ball of your big toe pressing into the ceiling. Notice when you do all that with your feet, how your lower back becomes more broad. Take another breath. Come on down with your feet or your hips from side to side. Delila, keep your knees a little closer. Let's do a second set. Bend your knees, reach back, hold your ankles. You can hold them from the outside. It is also possible to flip your arms around like standing bow and hold from the inside. Now flex your feet, kick back, and kick up. There you go. Good. If it feels best to drop your chin and lengthen the back of your neck, go ahead and do that. Breathe. Now activate your feet. Flex them. Press into your big toe. That's it. Keep them flexing. The outer ankle's tricky for me here too. It's the opposite of what you think. They get so flexed and tight. Come on down. Wave your feet from side to side. Hands on the floor beside your bottom ribs, but set your hands wide so that you can really move your shoulders back to the back of your body, upward facing dog. Without your shoulders being clenched forward. We want upward facing dog. That's it, Roy. Yeah, soften your elbows. Now pull your belly in, keep your shoulders back, downward facing dog. Nice work. Stretch back. We'll take camel pose with 2 sets. So you can do half camels or a few different variations. Personally, I always like some hero pose here for a lot of quad and knee stretching. Hero pose is like this, knees together, feet wide, hips sitting on the floor between your feet. Now, it might be that your weight is up on your hands or you're sitting on a block. The feet, they're right skimming the sides of your hips, pointing straight back. For some, just sitting on your heels is a good stretch for you. Hero, though, has your feet wide and you're sitting down. And if you get your feet wide, you can press into the arches of your feet, pressing your baby toe out. So for those of you that ever get that nudge that the outside ankle is tight for you, you could try pressing your baby toes out here. That's always a tricky pose for me. If I haven't practiced a lot, that instantly gets tight again. Instantly in my knees and in my quads. This pose is here at this point in the practice as we're about to take back bends, because when this is tight, you're inhibited in the back bends. If you feel pretty comfortable and your butt is on the ground, you can lean back into your hands or into your forearms or up onto your upper back. Reclined hero pose. The only thing you will not want is for your knees to lift up off the ground. If you want to stay in the hero pose while we come out and then go into a second set, you're also welcome to do that. If you're coming out, go ahead and come up out of the pose, hands to the floor for downward facing dog or tabletop, and stretch your legs behind you. Now we'll take a second set. You can take hero again or camel, as you know camel to be, which is just standing on your knees, hands in your back pockets, lifting, stretching the front of the body. The hero just exaggerates it. If you're in the hero pose and you naturally have a pretty flexible back bend, you might just want to try extra challenge, which could be you put your hands on the floor like you do for a wheel pose. You may even be comfortable there and press your arms straight or straight-ish. There's a variation for all the different kinds of bodies in the room on any day. Jenna, lift the pit of your belly. Yep, because you get that tailbone or your pelvis anterior tilting. Lift right here, but don't sink back. Go higher. Go higher. Here, there you go. Come on up out of it. Hands on the floor. Downward facing dog. Stretch out. Okay, we're ready for our back bends. Jump through your hands, sit down, and roll onto your back. We start with bridge pose. Put your body in the shape. Open your listening to your body wide and see what you can discover. Good. Pull more pit of the belly. Like this comes in right here. You'll feel like you roll, yes, over the back of your pelvis. Isn't that the weirdest spot? I think it's always the weird spot. Okay, bend your knees, come up into your bridge. Now imagine the center line once again. You hug into it with your inner knees, inner thighs. You may notice your whole lower back gets a little longer. Keep your feet set in the way that you've discovered them here. Bring your right knee into your chest. Both knees hug into your center line. So imagine the center line is there and you're just gently hugging. Switch sides, right foot down, left foot up. Establish that you have a connection to your center line. Just a gentle hugging, and you'll feel like the whole pose locks in and gets a little easier because the structure's more locked in. Come on down, all the way out of the pose. Knees side to side. Up into your bridge pose, get ready for wheel. If you're continuing to work with bridge, work with bridge. Hands on the floor, set them wide. Press down, rise up into the wheel pose. So it's from the bridge, the hands go on the floor. It feels a little awkward, but once you press, come on up into it. Once you get up into it, imagine again the center line, hug your knees in like they're hugging into a center wall. You'll really feel your big toes pressing down into the mat then. Tuck your chin and come on down. Knees go side to side. Second one, press down and rise up. Hands, feet on the floor. Now breathe. As much as there's the possibility of understanding the center line between the knees, hug in. You'll feel your big toe press down. There's also a center line between your arm bones. Hug in. Hug in. I see your feet, hands sliding away. Hug in with your arm bones into the center line, right there inside of the elbow. Tuck your chin and come on down. Knees side to side. Number 3. Set it up right in the rhythm of your breath. Keep your gaze set. Press down, rise up. A lot of times we feel in this pose like up is the main objective, getting higher and higher. Let the whole thing soften like a 1/4 of an inch. Now see what new access you have to stretching your whole body long. Tuck your chin and come on down. Knees side to side. Next one, set it up. Press down and rise up. Is this 3 or 4? 4. Angela is counting. You got it. Hug your knees in. Can you make, for some of you, your heels, not your toes, a little wider? John, can you do a little wider in your heels? Yes, and then just hug into the center line. You'll really feel your big toe knuckles anchor into the mat. Tuck your chin and come on down. Knees side to side. We have 2 more back bends. Whatever it takes, maybe a sigh to let go of where you are in it. Let your upper body get easier, your whole body get easier. Number 5, press down and rise up, wheel pose. If you have access to wheel, take the wheel. As your big toe knuckles press into the ground and your inner thighs hug to the center line, do the same with your thumbs and your arms. Tuck your chin and come down, knees side to side. We've got just 1 left. Set yourself up. Press down, rise up. This is the last one. Last one to be in the pose, breathing, feeling what you feel, and working with your body how it is right now. Some days a little tighter, some days a little more free to move. 1 more breath and come on down. Supta Baddha Konasana. So the soles of your feet together, knees open. Get into space where you can set your gaze and be in the experience of the work you've done so far. This is one of those stopping points in the practice where you get to be still and absorb the impact of the practice. Knees into your chest. Dead bug pose. Hold the outer edges of your feet. Pull your knees back to your shoulders and rock from side to side. Once again, hug your knees into your chest. Once you get your knees into your chest, ensure that your whole lower back body is long. Flex your feet. In fact, you can hug your block between your ankles. Then fingertips behind your ears. Just stretch the back of your neck long and let your fingertips rest at the base of your skull. Just curl up at your bottom rib. Now, if you need to, take a breath in, and as you exhale, sink your belly down so you feel your entire lower back on the ground, and keep that. Then breathe in and exhale, tap your heels and come back up. That's the work. Do that for 10 times, 9 times. 2 heels going down, bent knees, 8, 7, stay curled up. Do you feel your lower back arching and lifting up? We don't want that. Keep it sunk. 6, 5. I would find it helpful to blow out when I was bringing my knees in. 2 more, and 1. Hug your knees into your chest. Did you feel that? No block this time. Curl up, stay curled up, and it's one side at a time. Tap a heel and up, tap a heel and up. Keep going like that. Keep the whole of your lower back on the ground, your body curled up. Maybe you're moving here on the exhales. Blow out, tap, blow out, tap, blow out. Keep going for 10, 9, 8. Keep your belly sinking. 7. You should start to feel this in your deep low belly. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hug your knees into your chest. I guess you could feel that. Rock back and forth, head to tail. Several times, back and forth, without touching your heels if you can as you rock. Then come all the way up and balance in a baby boat pose. You can just hug and let your thigh bones sink back down deep into your pelvis and sit really tall. Make it so you're as tall as you can be. It's fine to have your knees open if that works for you. Then take your hands behind your thighs. Keep sitting even taller. Active feet. You can stay right here or start to press your heels up. Active. You could even be hugging a block. Sit tall. Maybe you'll let go, and right here you'll be. Breathe. 5 breaths. 4 breaths. Sit tall. 3 breaths. 2 breaths. Now listen, breathe in. Exhale, go to the low boat by pulling your belly back. Stay here. Breathe in. Exhale, come to a high boat. Breathe in, belly back, low boat, stretch, high boat, stretch, low boat. Watch it. If you're finding that you're arcing your back, pull your belly in. Sue, pull your belly in, pull your belly in, pull your belly in, and come up. Hug your knees and rock. Go through to downward facing dog. Take right side pigeon pose. So when we're doing those ab exercises, we're trying not to lock our lower back and get our pelvis fixed here. It's malleable where your low belly is pulling in the whole time. Right side pigeon. Right leg forward, left leg back. Get yourself set up and challenge yourself. There is where we always settle into the pose. Shin as square as your body will allow for it to be to the front of your mat. Challenge yourself. You could take your left forearm, if your foot is square enough that you can gather your left forearm to your right sole of the foot and press the sole and the forearm together. If the proportions let you reach for that. Otherwise, you could come up and with your left hand, reach back for your left ankle and fold forward and take your left ankle with you. Some of you, the challenge would be to walk your hands in front of you as far as they'll go. For some, that would be a nice addition to the pose for your body. Switch sides for the left side pigeon pose. Left leg forward. Shouldn't be any twinging or discomfort in your knees as you get set up. Feet, both feet still active. A lot of variations to choose. So we've named a few: reaching forward, a forearm against the sole of your left foot, and those two parts of the body pressing against one another. Reaching for your back ankle and bringing that forward with you, another choice. Whichever choice you do take on, again, the bird's eye view of your pelvis, both sides level. A sigh in the pose can be just a tool to making a clearing and letting go. Every time you practice, whether you know a pose or not, there's something new to be discovered, and the ability to visit similar poses again and again allow for a depth of discovery. Sit on your left hip, swing your right leg around, take double pigeons. So you'll stack your shins up. Your two sides of the pelvis, they both stay on the ground. For many of us, to put the hands on the ground and move the pelvis back lets us get onto the sitting bones. Elevating your hips, sitting up an inch or so can be really helpful for a lot of bodies. And you look around the room, there are a million variations to this. Flex your ankles. If you are able to get the setup where you have your shins stacked and your ankles hanging to the sides, forearms pressing against the soles of your feet can add a whole new dimension of opening to your hips. Do you feel that, Charlie? Yeah, it's different there. If you're sitting tall, there's still more for you if you want more other than leaning over. You can put your palms like a C shape on your thigh bones near your hips and press your thighs down into the mat and roll them out wide. You'll feel an opening from that as well. Now that you've been in the pose for a few breaths, reassess the alignment that you've set up, see if you have access to anything different, and maybe go a little deeper in the pose. Let the areas of sensation in your body be something that helps to draw your attention into what's happening right now. Let your breath be what allows you to work with it, to soften at the edges. All pressure is in your thigh bones near your hips, different from your knees. If we were to force the knees down and the hips don't change, then the knees get injured. Switch sides. So whatever leg was on top, on the bottom now. Consider it took over an hour to warm your body up for this pose. Move your hips behind you a little more if you have access to that. And then work with whatever there is here. If you're taking the more number 4 shape, you can still be pressing against the sole of your foot, just like this. That's it, Leela. So try your forearms page, yep. And not just your baby toe, but your big toe, press it into your forearms. Do you feel that different in your hips now? That's it, Greg. As best you can, just sit up out of your lower back. Okay, release, frog pose. If you need to take it on your back, take it on your back. If you can take it face down, take it face down. So 90 degrees in your hips, knees, and ankles, forearms on the ground, some way for one knee to slide and one to stay pretty stationary. Hips back there in the plane of your knees, not forward, if you can set it up that way. We are looking to allow the knees to slide. Set your gaze on one point and maintain just a steady breath. Throughout the practice earlier on, we have a lot of movement, holds, strength work, the edge of flexibility starting to soften to keep our attention really present. So the body helps to keep us focusing our attention. And now here, there's a little bit less of that. You definitely still have your drishti in your breath, and there is some information coming from your body. Can you just keep your breath steady? And then whatever comes up, let it come up and let it pass, different from just suppressing or pushing it away. Give yourself access to a quality of being. Steady breath. Give yourself one more sigh, one more chance to just let go. Feel the deeper space. Then start the work of bringing yourself out of the pose, whatever that is. So face down, I would bring my heels together and slide forward. Back down, walk your feet together. Then we'll take the seated single leg stretches. So sitting up, stretch your right leg long, bend your left leg to the inner thigh of your right leg and fold over your long right leg. You, with your left hand, can hold the baby toe side of your right foot so that your outside right ankle just softens. Soften your outside right ankle. That means your baby toe will bend back toward your face more. There you go. I like to wrap my right hand behind my back and rest it on the back of my pelvis. Somehow or another, that adds additional tension that lets me have a little more opening. Give yourself a sigh and then switch sides. Let your outside ankles soften. Let your left lower back soften. Intend for there to be healing in your body. Sit up, open your feet really wide, move your sitting bones behind you, wide legs, seated forward fold. So from your inner thigh line all the way through your inner knee, out to your soft inner corner of your heel, to the edge of your heel, reach out. From your baby toe back through your ankle, the outside of your shin and knee and thigh to your hip, reach in. Can you create that? Inside body out, outside body in. Toes straight up to the ceiling. Another breath with a sigh. Come on up. Bring your feet together. Hug your block between your ankles. Point your toes toward the floor. Lean back with your hands. Fingertips point toward your heels. Roll your shoulders back and hug that block. Then lift your hips up if you're able to. You could bend your knees and take it as a tabletop. See if you're able to, with your inside ankle, just keep hugging the block as you lift in the reverse plank. Hands sink down into the ground. And as they do that, let your chest rise up between your shoulder blades, up through your arm bones, up to the ceiling. Take a breath and then sit your hips down. Fish pose, C-shaped hand around each side of your pelvis. Rest your forearms to the elbows on your mat. Press your heels away from your body and press your hips away from your shoulders. So you're pressing the lower body away. Stretch the waist. Sink the elbows and let the chest open to the ceiling. So there's no kind of sinking, shoulders squeezing. It's a lot of opening, a lot of pit of the belly hugging. Can you breathe and expand your chest and upper back? Another breath, and then tuck your chin and roll onto your flat back. Once you're on your flat back, roll your feet overhead to plow pose. All the way overhead. Arrange your shoulders so that they make a strong base. Bend your elbows, hands to your lower back. Hold your lower back. Make a steady foundation. If you are in the back row and you're able to put your feet on the wall or to the sides where there's a wall, if you can see your feet, see if you can open your heels, not your toes, just your, yes, a little wider. How does that affect your lower back? Breathe into the new space you're creating in your lower back. Maybe breathe and intend to just soften the back of your neck. You might have it really pulled flat right now. If you feel like your base is steady and you're ready for something new, feet up in the air, shoulder stand. You can set your gaze just on one point here and breathe. It might be helpful, even with your feet in the air, to flex your feet and then move your heels just off of one another. Breath by breath and pose by pose, as we develop an ability to have attention, we also develop ability to add healing into our bodies. And so we practice. We come back and practice again and again. Feet overhead to plow pose. And then bend your knees to hug your temples if you're able to. You could reach for your feet as well. This is the most C-shaped our body would be during practice. And so your feet are on one side of your head. Take your palms now on the other side so your palms can go to the floor. And with your feet overhead for as long as possible, come rolling out of the pose. One bone of your spine at a time. So imagine you're putting a bone down, stretching the space in between, putting the next bone down until you've unrolled from the pose. Relax your shoulders onto the mat. Let them be steady right there. Shoulders settle, Paige. Settle. Yeah. Ribs now. And settle them again. All the way out. Hug your knees into your chest. You can drop your knees to the left and look to the right. Our practice is a pretty simple practice, but visit it again and again, the same way you do your brushing of the teeth. Each time coming to it to just see what there is to do and doing the job and discovering what there is at the end. Switch sides. The practice is meant to work that way as well, to let you come to something that is familiar, see what's changed, what's new, what you have access to, and create healing in your body and in your mind. On the second side, take a sigh. To the center for Supta Baddha Konasana, so soles of your feet together, knees long. Move your pelvis down toward your heels so you have length in your lower back. That doesn't mean now your back will be flat like we used it in the stability section. It'll have its natural curve. You want that, but you want as much space so that your bones can settle. In the studio here, there's a cold eye towel near your head. You're welcome to utilize that as you start now to set your body up for Shavasana. So then stretch your legs long and wide, arms wide with your palms facing up to the ceiling. Get organized here so that you really do feel supported. I a lot of times like to take my hand towel and roll it up and make a neck roll from it. Some of you might like something to soften the backs of your knees. Maybe you're now realizing I've got to move my pelvis in the back down toward my heels a little more again. That's often a spot for me. Once you feel like you've got it pretty well set up, take a deep breath in and exhale. Let your body sink. As many times as you need to, have the sigh. And then just slow, steady, deep, rhythmic breath. Easy breathing. You can start to deepen your breathing. Bring some movement to your fingers and your toes. Give them a squeeze or maybe stretch your arms overhead. Hug your knees into your chest and roll to your side. Bring yourself up into a sitting position. Arrange it so you're comfortable and you can sit tall. Then stretch your arms overhead and bring your hands to prayer position at the center of your chest and just pause. Feel how it is for you right now as a result of your practice. And let there be an intention for you for the rest of your day. And then 3 times we'll chant together. Take a breath. Bring your thumb knuckles to the center of your forehead and inhale. Exhale. Namaste. Thank you all for being here. If you have any questions about our Himalayan Institute retreat, we have a training beginning again in October. If you're interested in learning more about that, it meets once a month, all day on a Saturday, virtually on a Friday. I'm happy to answer those questions or anything about your practice. I look forward to seeing you the next time. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Thanks for coming. You're welcome. It's good to have you here. The laundry's outside, and on the desk is a place for the yes and no card.